Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song. I'm hung up in a grave situation.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode 200 of the Rotten Reviews podcast. It's amazing that we're actually at episode 200. When I started this podcast a while back, I didn't think I would keep with it, because that's just sometimes something that happens with me. I'll start a project, be really infused to do it, and I'll get going on it, and then I'll just give it up. But I've been sticking with it. I'm enjoying this podcast ever so much, and I'm glad to see other people are enjoying it as well. I think whenever I do decide to stop the podcast, if that ever is a thing, it's only going to happen when I stop enjoying the podcast. So as long as I keep finding movies that are horrible or cartoons that are horrible or whatever, as long as I still find enjoyment in sitting down to do this and taking time out of my day to work on it each and every single week, I will keep pumping out the episodes. At some point in time, I want to do extra content. I always want to, but like I said, I always put so much on my plate, so I gotta try and make like a roadmap. Video games, I'm not sure how many people are video games, but usually these new games, because they're never fully complete, they'll make a roadmap of the content that's going to come out for the year, and I think I gotta start doing that. Just branch off a bunch of things that I want to do, because I still want to do drawings for each episode. I still have my weekly drawings I do for my child, my little monster. I still have my weekly game videos I gotta do, the live streams, all that fun stuff. So I just gotta find a time slot for each thing, fit it all together, because I don't sleep, so I have plenty of time to get stuff done if I just stay focused. It just depends on how hot and humid it is, because I don't really want to do the podcast with a fan or AC or anything on, just because then you have that background noise, so it gets a little sweaty in my little podcast area. So it is what it is, but it's summer, it's Canada, it's a fun place. I'm just ranting and raving right now, but let's officially get started with some housekeeping, just so you guys are all aware.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towels?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
But I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been around for the 200 episodes, even if you haven't listened to all of them. If you're a new listener, thank you. I appreciate it. If you guys could just leave a star review if you're on Spotify, leave an Apple review if you're on iTunes. If you don't want to do either one of those, I understand. Just feel free to hit that share button. That share button helps out a lot. It does really help out. So, share it with your coworkers, your family, your friends, your enemies, the gravesite down the road, the cow that's, staring at you when you're driving down that country road, whatever it might be, just anything that might listen. Just we need the listeners here. I don't need the listeners. I want the listeners. I appreciate the listeners. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's really hot and humid, and it's only 7 o'clock in the morning here. This is literally being recorded a matter of hours after episode 199. So we're cranking out the episodes. We're going to keep them going, trying to get as many done as possible, trying to get them done as a cool temperature as possible as well. That way I can focus a little bit more. And, just trying to relax with the podcast a little bit more, trying to not mix up my words as much, which is still going to happen because it's just going to be like that. So, but we have a fun episode, or at least what sounds to be a fun episode. This movie is from 1981. It's titled Burial Ground. It's a horror movie. We're getting back to the horror movies. It's a splatter classic about a cursed country estate besieged by horny house guests and the unusual relationship between a mother and her creepy young son. What's the worst that could happen in this movie? But before we do get into that, if you guys could, you can follow me personally on all social media accounts at Typhonstein. You can find on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. The main thing that I have going though is the YouTube channel, so I'd like to promote that as much as possible. Once we hit that 1,000 subs, I'm going to be giving away some free artwork to a couple listeners, viewers, whatever you want to entitle yourselves as. And yeah, we got the weekly gaming video going out every Wednesday. We have old episodes of the podcast up as well. We have various shorts going out. I'm trying to do 5 to 7 shorts a week. I know a lot of people just they'll crank 5 or 7 out a day. I don't want to do that. I don't want to just I don't want to hit you guys over the head with a dead hammer over and over again just so you guys look at my artwork. We are going to switch it up a little bit. I think we're going to try and do some gaming shorts mixed in with the art shorts as well. But we also do live streams over there as well, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button if you ever feel kindly to do so, and turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified when I go live. Also, it's hot. Summer's coming in here, and to keep yourself hydrated, if you guys are thirsty and needing something to drink, make sure to check out www.w.gg and use the promo code Rotten Reviews, capital on both Rotten and Reviews, to save yourself 10% at checkout. I drink this up. I enjoy this stuff, and I'm sure you guys will find some flavors that you enjoy as well. And it never hurts to save a little bit. It's 10%. It's not much, but it's a little bit. In this day and age, every little bit of savings counts, and it saves you a little bit. It gives me a little bit, and I appreciate it if you guys do check out the links. Links are all down the bio below. You can find my social media links down there as well. You can find the W link down below as well. So definitely go check that out. But we're going to start discussing the movie at hand. This movie is free to watch on Tubi right now. According to Google, you can also watch it for free on Plex. I don't use Plex that often. I like Tubi a lot more than Plex, but maybe they have some other movies on there that I should check out, but definitely go check it out. You can find it on Tubi or Plex for free. This movie has a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb, 3.6 out of 5 on Amazon.ca, and 51% on Rotten Tomatoes. Apparently 80% of Google users have liked this film. A description on Google is skeletal ghosts greet visitors at the mansion of a professor staying in the ancient Etruscans. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is at all. I'm probably too non-intelligent to know what Etruscans are, but it is what it is. I like the description more on Tubi, to be honest with you guys anyways. Initial release date was July 9th, 1981 in Italy. We're of course watching the English dub, just so you guys are aware. This movie has one director, one writer credit to it. The director for this one is Andrea Benasci. I probably butchered that last name, rightfully so. That's what I'm good at. Best known for The Seduction of Angela from 1986. From 1972, she was the director for Night Hair Child, and she was the director for 1989's Lo Gilda. I haven't heard any of these, but then again, I'm not a big Italian horror person, so if you guys know them, let me know, on the YouTube video or down in the comments below. Send me an email, whatever it might be. I would like to know if they're good movies. According to IMDb, they're sitting on an average score at best, so who knows? They might be hidden gems, let's say. And throughout this podcast, you might hear my dog every now and then, because got him a new collar because I like to spoil the old boy. And at some points when he's moving his neck around, his big fat neck, you can hear that. Damn, the clasp on it, the clip is so goddamn big that it hits the actual buckle every now and then. So, he's a happy boy. He's a hot, sweaty boy, but, so is his dad. So, it is what it is. Anyways, back to the content of this episode. The writer for this one is Piero Regagnoli, best known for movies I can't really pronounce, to be honest with you. From 1964, he was the writer for Samson and King Solomon's Mines. In 1970, he was the writer for 17 de Marsa Martu. That was a butcher and a half. And I'm not going to mention the other ones because they just get harder from there. So we'll just leave that at that. He's the full-on Italian writer, and they look like not all horror movies. They look like westerns and thrillers and whatnot. I mean, the one looks like pirate western kind of, so it is what it is. Go check them out if you want to. You can find them on IMDb, to at least look at them and see what movies you want to check out. And then, as always, we'd like to pick two of the actors to talk about. I obviously don't know any of the cast really for this one, with it being an Italian horror movie. So the first one we're going to talk about is Karen Well, who's playing Janet. And of course, when I think of the character named Janet, all I think of is Rocky Horror Picture Show. She's best known for being Janet and Burial Ground. She's also credited as actress in the 1980 movie La Madonna Nuda, and she's also credited as actress for 1979's The Hamogelotistas? Yep, don't know how to pronounce that one at all. We're going to just jump to the next actor, who I can't even pronounce the goddamn name. We're going to attempt it. It sounds, or looks like Gianni Luigi Crizizzi. I know, I butcher it. Hopefully this is a good comedy aspect for the podcast, because I don't know how to say these names. Best known for, of course, being in Burial Ground for 1981. He's also Sergio in 1975 Blue Jeans, and he was also Antonio in 1973's Marcellus. And we're going to be done talking about the cast members right now, because I don't want to go through any more of their history, because I don't know how to pronounce these Italian horror movies. That's probably part of the reason why I don't do a lot of Italian horror movies on the podcast, just because I can't pronounce the things that they've been in, or the cast members' names, or certain things like that. I have a hard enough time pronouncing normal names and such, so we'll probably avoid Italian horror, not fully, but, you know, that's probably the reason why I don't come back to it so much. And boy, did you think last week's movie had a long-ass tagline? That ain't nothing compared to this movie's tagline. Apparently on IMDb, the tagline for this one is, "The earth shall tremble, graves shall open, they shall come among the living as messengers of death, and there shall be the nights of terror, prophecy of the black spider." I like taglines when they're quick and short and right to the punchline. It's fine. It's a horror movie, so I can understand the tagline being a little bit longer, but you know, whatever works for them, I guess. Fun little piece of trivia. Apparently the workshop set scene in this film's climax also was featured in Dario Argento's Inferno from 1980. It was also featured in Luigi Cozzi's Contamination from 1980, as well as Antonio Margari's Cannibal Apocalypse in 1980. So yeah, this set was reused a lot, which is understandable and fair. I know a lot of the Italian horror movies, they reuse sets a lot and just, you know, pumped out the movies like crazy to try and cash in on stuff that was happening in overseas. But with that being said, I think we touched on everything that we want to touch on for the details for the movie. This is your only warning right now, as I do with each and every single episode. In case you're a new listener, I talk about the movie from start to finish and hit all the points in between that interest me. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1981, way before I was born, feel free to pause it now, go watch it on Tubi or Plex, your preferred platform, whatever you want to, and then come back and, you know, listen to me talk about the movie, because we need you here. I appreciate if you would come back, or just, you know, sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie, and I'll either hit all the points and make it so you really want to watch the movie, or make it so you're just, you know, you're fine with not watching it. You know, you can cross it off your bucket list like you already did watch it. So hopefully you're at home, comfy, you know, sitting in some AC, maybe you got some popcorn, some Doritos, whatever it might be, or, you know, if you're driving, make sure to keep your eyes on the road, please. Don't cause any accidents, please. And if you're at work, hopefully this helps you get through your day. And we're going to get started on the podcast right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
So we got the movie starting out. We got that classic Italian style horror suspense music playing, and we just see a long-haired gentleman inside a cave somewhere, breaking away some rocks, and he like cuts out a square, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this looks actually pretty good." And then we come to find out, we see him looking at this square tab, and it's engraved with some special writing. Apparently, he's the scientist that IMDb was talking about in the description for the movie. And we just have a pan of his face, and it's just like, "It's incredible. It's true. It must be. It can't not be true." We see him walking through his home, or maybe his office, which if it's his office, goddamn, you must be a really rich scientist, because this is some pretty incredible interior shots. And he's walking outside, and he's got like this briefcase on the side. He's got this old school lantern flashlight that looks kind of neat, not gonna lie. Oh, he's leaving the spot. It was nighttime when he was leaving, but now when he's getting to this cave area, it looks like it's sunrise or sunset time. I'm not really too sure. It would make sense if it's sunrise, but it's so dark and gloomy still. Nonetheless, that's just how sometimes Italian horror movies are shot. They're shot out of sequence, so maybe the lighting and everything else doesn't really line up with the story, but they go with it nonetheless. As the flashlight is, hitting the walls inside this long cave that he's going through, we can see that it was used for something. I'm not too sure what, because there's actual sculptures all along the wall of people in like Roman robes and whatnot. I guess togas would be the proper term, but whatever. You see him still hammering at this one piece of wall, but then somewhere else there's another piece of stone that's opening up, and then this ghoulish character comes out, and he's all shocked by it. He starts talking to the mummy ghoul. He's like, "Stand back, I'm your friend, please don't hurt me." And then as he's walking back, he walks into another ghoul who just starts eating his neck. He's like, "Oh no, no!" And then the camera zooms in as the ghoul's eating flesh from his neck, and then the original title comes up, The Knights of Terror, and then we see a bunch of cars driving down this rural looking 2-lane road where they're driving on the left side. I realized that this is Italian and not Western. It'll take a little time to get used to, okay? A little bit of time. And as the intro credits are rolling, we see it's a very upbeat style music playing, just, happy-go-lucky. And, you guys are in for a world of surprises. Then we see them showing up to the mansion where they're sitting outside the gate, and George goes up to answer the gate, and I believe it's Jan, and she's like, "Honey, didn't you hire a whole new staff? Why is nobody answering the gate for us?" And then the gate just randomly slowly starts to open. We find out that the girl driving the car was actually Evelyn, and then we find out that it's been 6 months since they've been back. And she's like, "Oh, it's been years since we've been here." And then we find out that the professor actually lives in the mansion with them. So the burial spot is right around. Looks like it's down the walkway. It looks like the professor could just went off on a little sidewalk, and he was right there, right then. And then we see Evelyn, they're inside the house now. They're checking around, and she checks in on her creepy ass freaking son, and he's fast asleep apparently. And then next thing you know, he just opens up his eyes, and he's just staring at the ceiling, wide-eyed. And then we see her fully on in lingerie, and her husband's like, what are you doing? She's like, "What, do you not like it?" He's like, "No, I'm just curious where you found that stuff." And she's like, "Next door. I wonder how long it's been there for." Then with the dubbing, it's kind of amazing, because she's like, "What, did you not like my little show I was just giving you?" He's like, "Yes, I liked it a lot in my little horror." And then of course there's it's an Italian horror movie, so they're getting it on, and then we can see the shadow of the creepy son walking through, and then we see the door slowly starting to open, and it's slowly opening, and then it just slams and hits the wall, and they're like, "Oh, what's that?" And then we just see the shadow slowly making its way closer and closer to the door opening, and in walks the creepy son, who's just like, "Mama," and then Mama just jumps out of bed butt ass naked, and we find out the kid's name is Michael, and she's like, "Michael, go back to your room. This isn't, you can't be seeing your mother naked." And then we cut to Janet and Mark, and Janet's freaking out for some reason, I'm not sure why, but she's like, "We gotta warn everyone, we gotta get out of here, something bad's gonna happen, something terrible is gonna happen here, I just know it, we just need to leave." And he's like, "Calm down, you're being silly. Come on. No need to be scared. It's just a creepy old mansion. It's fine. Everything's fine." And we cut to that cave where the professor was, and we see a bunch of ghouls just slowly start to make their way through the cave system. They're very energetic. They're very happy looking ghouls, they look like a couple homeless people. It's fine. We see everyone sitting down for breakfast or something. And they're like, "Where's the professor?" And the butler guy's like, he's a strange type. He's probably out just exploring somewhere, doing some professor stuff. Who knows? And then Mark gets up from the dinner table, and he's like, "Come on, Janet, let's go for a walk. Senior's talking about how you had a dream of the undead coming to kill you and killing us all. So let's go so we can, calm everyone down and not freak them out. Let's go take a look at the lake. The lake's pretty nice. Let's go take a walk, huh? Let's go walk. Then the dad and mom get ready to leave because they're going to go take a look at some of the pieces that the professor found. And then the mom's like, Michael, aren't you coming with us? And just zooms in on his face, and we're just staring at his eyes as he's just staring off in the distance at God knows what. And then we see Mark and Janet out walking around the grounds, and they're in the garden by the water fountain because they haven't made it to the lake yet. And we just see apparently Janet's a model, and he's a photographer because he's taking a bunch of pictures. And then she trips. He's like, stay there. I gotta take a picture. He's like, nothing's broken, right? She's like, no, it's just like the ground just disappeared below my feet, and I just fell over. And another comment that he makes, or she makes first, is that she needs a raise in pay. He's like, you're getting a raise, all right, but it doesn't have anything to do with money. Then back at the mansion, when it's just the butler and the maid there, we see the chandelier light bulbs all starting to just explode for whatever reason. I'm not too sure. But then we cut and see the ghouls are coming out of that cave where the professor was killed in. Yeah, we see Michael walking around somewhere in the mansion where there's a bunch of sculptures all over the place, and for whatever reason, his mom and dad, I'm assuming this is dad, man, stepdad, I don't fucking know. She's practicing to shoot a gun inside this sculpture area, and then Michael just runs over, Mama! What the hell is going on here, huh? Then we cut back to Janet and Mark. They're making out on the grass because, they're a horny couple. And then we just see some ghouls' hands coming up out of the grass. And the ghouls, slowly starting to sit up in the grass because apparently he wasn't buried that deep at all. We see the ghoul crawling ever so slowly on all fours. He reaches up and grabs Mark's ankle. And Mark looks around. He's like, oh, goddamn, what the hell is that? That thing's horrible looking. He's like, whatever it is, it's not human. It's a walking corpse. We need to get out of here. And then they start running through the field that they're in. Then as they're walking or running through the fields, slow motion a little bit, another ghoul just pops out around the corner like, oh my god, it's another one. See a bunch of close-up shots of the various ghouls as they're walking towards them, or towards the house. And not a lot of them are like long gone decayed, because a couple of them just look like they have like little scabs here and there. But it's kind of interesting to see the various head sculptures that they did. Kind of makes me want to maybe sketch out one or two if I find some free time, whatever the hell that might be. And then we cut back to the family in the studio, and Michael picks up a random cloth. He's like sniffing it. He's like, Mama, this cloth smells like death. And she looks at it and she's like, that's just an old rag, honey. You get the strangest ideas. And then a ghoul just walks into the room, and Michael's like, Mama! And then the dad's George is like, who are you? What are you doing here, huh? Don't come any closer to me, okay? Just take the kid. At least he doesn't actually say that, but I'm assuming he's thinking that. And next thing we know, we see Evelyn and Michael off on one side, and we see George getting pinned down by 3 different ghouls, and he actually shoots one of the ghouls in the stomach, and just some water starts gushing out of him. Also, I don't know how many shots this revolver holds, but he's been shooting these ghouls more than 6 times for sure. And then he just stands there as the ghouls like grab him and start pushing him down on the ground. And then next thing we know, we see this like splatter of guts and goo and everything coming out of his chest because they're just like literally ripping him apart. Then we come back to the third couple that we only saw for like a split second earlier because he was writing some notes on the grass. And she's like, can't you give me more attention than your stupid scribblings? Because now they're making out behind the water fountain, which I'm assuming some death is going to happen to them as well. They're making out and the girl says, James, look! And then there's this like garden area where the top of the garden goes away like it's a casket or a tomb. And then these ghoul hands start to come out. He's like, it's just a joke. I'm sure it's just a joke. And then we see the ghouls sit up, and then next thing we know, there's a couple other ghouls all around them. And for what reason, his tomb was inside of I guess it's got some writing on the side of it, but there's like a flower bed built on top of it. I didn't think that was really a thing. And next thing you know, there's a bunch of them coming all over the woodwork. And of course, once the ghouls start making their way closer, it's like, we gotta get out of here, I guess. They're monsters. I don't know what they are. Of course, the typical lady, as they're running away, she trips and falls. And he's still holding both her hands, and he's like trying. He's like, you gotta get up, or I'm gonna leave your ass here. Come on, you gotta get up. And you see Mark and Janet getting back to the mansion. And of course, the door that they're trying to get through, it's like the gate door. They can't open it. He's like, God damn it, who shut this damn door? Janet. Then as they're running through this other part of the garden, Janet trips and falls, and we hear what sounds like glass breaking. But then we see Mark trying to get her ankle out of a bear trap, of all things. And Janet's freaking out and doing this fake cry. He's like, it's killing me, Mark. It's killing me. I can't live any longer. But then we see some more ghouls showing up, of course. And Janet finally notices that the ghouls are starting to come after them. And she's like, oh my god, hurry up, Mark. Come on, hurry up, Mark. And then Mark just sees a pitchfork, so he's like, I'll take these ghouls ghouls on with my pitchfork that just conveniently placed beside this bear trap. Mark hits the one ghoul in the head with the pitchfork, and then he goes to like kind of like stab him, the other ghoul in the chest, and the ghoul grabs the pitchfork and actually takes it from him and throws it down on the ground like, I don't need this weapon to kill you, I'll just strangle you to death. We see another ghoul walking up behind Janet, and she's just screaming as she's watching one ghoul choke out Mark, and then we see the other couple, I think it's James and Leslie, showing up, and they, start grabbing rocks to beat in the ghouls' skulls. We see the people are all safe and, all right, even though Janet's screaming her damn head off, they finally get her ankle out of the bear trap, and there's no blood. Shocking. I guess they cut costs on that part. And Janet's like, see, I told you something bad was going to happen here and we had to leave, but no, you didn't want to listen to me, now did you? Janet, probably not the time to play the name blame game, seeing you can barely walk as it is, so how about you just shut your face before we leave you on the ground? We see Evelyn and Michael trying to escape this little area that they're in where Papa was murdered, and apparently the door only opens from the other side because they're beating on the door, being like, open the door please, open the door please. And they're like, oh, we need to go downstairs again and try and get around the ghouls as they slowly walk towards us. And Michael just points over to what looks to be cans of paint and be like, Mama, we can set it on fire, throw the paint on it and set it on fire. Mama, burn it alive, Mama. So they set the ghoul on fire. It, stumbles around burning alive and then burning dead, I guess. And then it slowly just stumbles to the ground. They're like, oh, there's another one. Sure glad we got this second thing of paint on us. I'm sure glad you carry a thing of matches all the time on you, little Michael. Then we see the groups all meeting up together outside in the parking lot area. But it's shocking. The ghouls are all just lurking around the cars being like, oh, what's this contraption? And they all run to the front door, which is apparently locked at all times because they're beating on the door, being like, come on, open the door up, please. Please let us in. There's dead people out here. Let us in, please. Here, which one of them is like to the butler. He's like, what took you so long? He's like, well, there's been a surge of lightning happening here, lights blowing up. And he's like, well, why do you even have the door locked to begin with? Because you live in a mansion in the middle of nowhere. So what's the point in locking the goddamn doors? So we see them inside, boarding up the windows and making sure everything's secured. Your typical zombie apocalypse movie. And then for a reason, Mark's like, hey, Kathleen, maid lady, can you go take a candle downstairs and make sure everything else is boarded up by yourself? So if you die, it's only going to be you that dies. And while Kathleen's on her walk, she comes to like this endless hallway and she gets a little bit spooked because we see the curtain blowing in the wind, being like, uh-oh, that's not good. Kathleen makes the door to the window and gets ready to close the shutters, and that's when one of the ghouls has a freaking throwing knife of all things, and as soon as she goes to close the shutter, she actually gets the throwing knife in the hand and gets it stuck to the shutter on the window. And then out of nowhere, we see this giant scythe coming up, and it's going to cut off her head. Where did they get the tools from? And how do they know how to use them? Yeah, they cut off her head, and then there's 3 ghouls out there just, munching on her skull because, they're hungry. And we just see the body just whittling a little bit as the blood just starts gushing out of the neck. And that's when we then see, I believe it's James walking around. He finds the maid. He's like, hey, what you doing over there? As we just see her body hanging out the window, and he walks closer, and then he realizes she's got no head. So after a few seconds of thinking, he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna grab her ankles and throw her off the window sill, and that way you guys can have something else to eat. Her hand is still stuck via the spike in the window seal or the window shade, but that they pull on her enough to the point where it rips right through her hand. A little gruesome effect, but pretty well done. As the ghouls get done munching on her dead body, we see them all walking around with various work tools. One has a sledgehammer, one has a battle axe, pickaxe. You got the one with the sai again. You got one with what looks to be the end of a broom handle for some reason. I guess you couldn't find anything better in the work shed. We see the ghouls, beating down on the doors, trying to break the doors down. That's when they go out on the balcony. I believe it's James at this point in time. He's got a shotgun. He's like, they can only die by blowing their heads off. And he actually shoots 2 of them in the head. We just see the head explode. Kind of funny watching these scenes because we just see a shot of the head and it's just blowing up, and then we just cut back to him reloading the gun again, and he's shoots about 6 of them or so far, and randomly the ghouls start leaving, and Evelyn's like, oh, they're leaving. He's like, oh, we only got 2 shots left for the shotgun. It's like, damn, maybe they'll leave us alone for the night. Out of nowhere, we see one of the ghouls. He sees a giant stone pillar that's got engravings in it. He literally just starts climbing up it and gets onto a balcony area. And then we see Janet taking her boot off, and it's all bruised. But it is a bear trap. I'm pretty sure it would do more than just bruise your skin, because those look like sharp teeth. But what do I know? And we see Leslie walking down the hallway to go get some supplies to try and met up Janet's ankle. And then out of nowhere, a ghoul arm just goes through a glass window and grabs her, and she's like, oh no, please don't. And then we just see him pulling her face closer and closer to the broken glass, and we see her face getting all charred up by the glass. And then I don't know if a piece of her hair comes out of her head, because we just see the ghoul fall backwards then. Then we see the butler guy taking Janet into a room that's connected to where the front door is, and they hear a bunch of banging, and the butler guy goes to look at the door. He's like, they're trying to break down the door. I don't know how much longer it's gonna hold. And Janet's like, just go get my husband. So the butler guy's like, okay, just stay here. He's like, well, obviously she's gonna stay there, and you're gonna leave her trapped in a spot where you had to literally help walk her to that spot. So where the hell is she gonna go? And then she's freaking out. She's like, I gotta find a weapon as the door's getting broken down. She finds this big, like, trident looking spear thing and picks it up. And then of course the door gets broken down. The ghoul's coming after her, and she's like, get back as I hobble on one leg. Please get back. And then we see a window break, and we see a ghoul just popping his head in. And then another window breaks, and then a door breaks, and we just see her getting pinned down into another room. And of course then she falls on her ass, of all things. Then of course, as the ghouls are slowly starting to corner Janet while she's sitting down on the ground, then the guys finally show up, and he's like, Janet, we gotta go save her. Grab some random weapons that are hanging on the wall here, and we'll start chopping out the ghouls. As the guys are fighting the ghouls, we see Evelyn and Michael come into the scene, and we see another ghoul's hands inside a window seal. So Evelyn's like, go stay over there, Michael, you don't need to see this. And she picks up a machete, starts chopping at that ghoul's hands, and hits him in the head a couple times. And then as she's backing up, then another ghoul walks in the doorway where Michael is pretty much standing beside, and he's just like, mama, bad thing, mama. So then Evelyn comes over and literally just takes the machete and chops the ghoul's head off with one clear shot. And they're just like, good job, everyone. Let's go bar up all the windows and doors in the house so everything's secure. And then they just leave Janet stand there again. And then the movie gets really weird, because then Michael's like, mama, please never leave my side. I'm so scared, mama. And then Michael starts kissing his mom and feeling up her boob. What the hell is going on here? This goes on for like a minute, and then it takes her a minute to be like, Michael, what the hell is wrong with you, you weirdo? So then Michael runs away. That's when then he finds Leslie's body up against the window where, you know, the ghoul attacked her through the glass, and half her skull is like gone where the ghoul had attached to her head. And Leslie's not Leslie anymore, because now she's a ghoul, and Michael's just like, Leslie. It's like, why do you keep saying her name, dumbass? You can see she's dead. And then ghoul Leslie starts walking towards Michael, and Michael's just like, do you want me to call the others to let them know that you're here, Leslie? Then Jan's looking off on the balcony. She's like, there's about 20 of them coming through the garden. And he's like, well, maybe we'll just let them come in the house. Maybe there's something inside the house that they actually want, not us. You know, and they're really slow, so maybe we can just get around them if we, actually pay attention. And then we see Evelyn finally going around looking for Michael. And she comes to the window that has all the glass, but Michael and Leslie are nowhere to be seen at this point in time. Not gonna lie, when Michael found Leslie's body on the ground, I literally thought the little creepy kid was gonna go cop a feel on a dead body. Literally thought that's where this was going to go. Anyways, Evelyn's then following the blood splatter patch that leads to a room, and before she even opens up the door, she's like, Michael! And then once she does open up the door, we see Evelyn is in shock because Leslie somehow ripped off Michael's arm and is apparently eating it. Evelyn pays no attention to Leslie, who's munching on her dead kid's arm, and Evelyn just goes over and starts hugging Michael, being like, Michael, what happened to you, my baby? And Evelyn starts attacking Leslie, and she's like, you killed my baby boy, you killed my perfect little son, my little ray of sunshine. Like, she starts choking her out to the point where Leslie is up against the bathtub, and she just starts ramming her head off of the bathtub, and we just see blood and fluids leaking into the bathtub, and we can assume that she's dead now, because now Leslie's not moving at all. We cut to a shot looking down at the ghouls as they have a big giant log, and they're using it as a ramp to try and break down the front door, because apparently these ghouls are intelligent and know how to use equipment of any sort, or improvise. I mean, they're watching the front door as it's getting rammed. Instead of, like, I'm assuming there's multiple back doors that you could be probably waiting at already, and you could probably hear the door breaking down at that point, and you could escape through the back door already. But no, they stand in the lobby waiting for the front door to break down, and then they start, hauling Janet's broken ass out because, she can't walk properly. But instead of going out the back door, they start going up a bunch of sets of stairs and into this hidden door, which, I mean, at least it's a hidden room, so that's a vantage point. I mean, the ghouls have been hunting them down this whole entire time, but they literally waddle past the hidden door and can't sense them at all. So then once they hear the ghouls going up the other set of stairs, they slowly start to make their way out of the hidden room. But then, surprising, they hear some sounds. They're like, oh, what's happening? And then just kind of find out it's just Evelyn who's freaking out with blood all over herself. And it's pretty much as if they forgot that there was other people in inside the mansion alive with them this whole entire time. Because then George is like, wait for me, I just need to go check something. He goes into the washroom and he sees a dead Michael and a dead Leslie. Wait, it's not George. George was the husband, right? It must be Nicholas then. Nicholas is the other guy? I don't know. This guy's not really that important to me, to be honest with you. Never mind, they just said Nicholas. Nicholas is actually the butler guy, so maybe it's James? James is the guy? I'm horrible with keeping up with names, okay? Leave me alone. To me, he's just a secondary character. He's right up there with the butler. And as we see them leaving the area, they're walking down the set of stairs, and then as they finally get past the set of stairs, this door slowly starts to creak open for whatever reason we don't know. And then Nicholas runs into the professor. He's like, "Oh, Professor, we're getting really worried about you. We gotta get out of here. You know, there's ghouls and stuff around here." He's like, Professor, why are you staring at me and moving your mouth like that? Professor, no, please don't attack me, Professor. Then we see this very splattered, goopy shot of the professor just eating the intestines out of Nicholas, and you know there's a bunch of blood and a bunch of, you know, close-up shots of it all. And then Mark and James walk back and they're like, "Oh God, hey, what happened? Oh hi Professor, we're gonna leave you alone here, okay?" And they run back to the girls like, "All right, come on ladies, let's get as far away from here as possible, because I don't want to be around any more ghouls." We see them making their getaway outside, and we see a couple pans of various gazebos, what at least looks like a gazebo, and the sun is starting to come up, and they're hiding inside the gazebo of all places. I don't know why, because the ceiling is all glass. Sure, there's, you know, walls with windows and such, but it doesn't seem like the safest spot to be hiding out in, but what do I know? And then we have Janet freaking out because they want to get ready to move on because it's daylight and there's nothing around. She's like, "Just leave me to die. I'm in too much pain. I can't walk anymore." Then we see them just walking through a field, just making their escape. Are we supposed to presume that the cars were all wrecked and damaged by the ghouls, and that's why they're not using the cars to escape? Anyways, they're walking through this field, and then they see this guy in a black cape walking around. It's like, maybe we can go talk to him. Maybe he'll help us out. They walk over to his building because he's walking away, and they ring the giant bell outside and be like, "Hope someone sure answers so they can help us out here." And they notice the door's open. It's like, "Oh, let's go in." And then we see a giant cross inside, so I'm assuming it's a church of some sort, maybe. Mark pokes his head and he's like, "Hey, anybody around?" And he's like, "There's nobody around at all, even though we did just see a robed gentleman walking around somewhere, but I guess maybe he just disappeared." Then James decides, he's like, "I'm gonna go look around." And you know, Mark's trying to help Janet, and Janet's just, you know, screaming in pain. Evelyn's just staring off in the distance because of course she lost her husband today, but she also lost her creepy perverted son, which, you know, I guess that's kind of upsetting her as well. We see James walking around the building, open up various doors, being like, "Hello, anybody here?" And he opens up one door and sees a shadow walking away. He's like, "Hey, Father, just wait 1 second. I just need to talk to you." And he walks into that room where the father just went into, and he's be like, "I'm sorry for disturbing you, Father. I just need to talk to you about a few things here." He walks in the room, and it's a bunch of people in brown cloaks, all with their heads down, looking down at the table. He's like, "I'm sorry to bother you guys. The door was open. I just need to come in to ask you guys for some help." And then one of the cloak guys puts his hands up on the table, and it's ghoul hands. See all the members raising their heads, and they're all ghouls, and apparently it's the Church of Latter-day Ghoul Saints, for all we know. And James starts freaking out. He's like, "Oh, no, please, no." And he starts backing up to the door, and there ghoul comes in and starts choking him, and then they throw him up on the table, and he's like, "Come on, let go of me, please, come on." And they get ready to start ripping him apart into pieces. Then, you know, instead of, you know, Mark hearing the screaming and taking Janet and Evelyn out of the building, he starts going towards the scream, being like, "Oh, what's going on? We gotta go see if we can save James." A shocker. There's no saving James because we see James being ripped to pieces. You know, the ghouls are feeding on his neck and feeding on his insides and everything. We have close-up shots of, you know, this bright red blood as it's just squirting out his neck, as it's, you know, all over their hands and all over the mouth. And by the time they get to where James is on the table, dead, but in the opposite position, because when they walk in the room, his head is facing them, but when they put him on the table, his head was facing the other way. But it's fine. It's all in context, I guess. They walk into the room. Evelyn starts freaking out because she sees all these ghouls in robes as they're feeding on their friend James, and then they slowly start making their way out of the church now. And apparently you change into a ghoul really quickly now, because then we see a shot of James' feet on the table, and the feet slowly start to twitch, and then out of nowhere he just sits up, and we have a ghoul James now. See the 3 remaining survivors just slowly making their way down the road and just trying to get somewhere to safety, and then they find another spot. I don't know where this place is, but it's another like gated cemetery looking spot, and it's like, there's nobody here, let's go hide inside here. I mean, it looked like a gated cemetery, but apparently it's some kind of workshop. And they close the gate, please don't let them in. And then there's this like statue inside that looks like it should be made out of stone, but somehow Mark and Evelyn are able to push it in front of the door. I guess maybe it's just made out of wood and paint it to look like stone. I'm not really sure what's going on at that point. Then it's the three of them are walking up the stairway at this workshop, and they walk on this walkway and they get to where this door is, and they get ready to walk into the door of this secondary room, the workshop, and then the door slowly starts to creak open, and shocker, there's a ghoul inside there. Didn't see that coming at all. So then they go back to the barricade where they put the thing in front of the door, and they're like, oh no, the ghouls are outside the gate as well, they're here. So then Mark's like, you know what, just you ladies push on this, keep it up against the door. I'm gonna grab this random wooden pole that looks like it's for a banister, and I'm gonna go beat the crap out of this ghoul up top. Mark's clearly not a good shot because he's just like wailing on the ghoul on his shoulders. It's like, man, how long you been doing this tonight? You need to aim for the freaking head. It's a ghoul, it's slow, it's not dodging your hits at by any means. It's just standing there still coming at you. Mark breaks the wooden pole that he's using to beat the ghoul up, and then he starts having like a fist fight with the ghoul, and literally pushes him over the railing, and we just see a slow-mo shot of the ghoul falling through the wooden bench that's down below, and that I guess knocks him out or maybe kills him. I'm not really too sure, but he's not moving at the point in time. So then they huddle their ass back upstairs, but then we see another ghoul coming through the doorway, and now it's ghoul Michael. At least he should have advantage because he's a kid and he only has one arm. Evelyn's stupid because she's like, Michael, my baby, and she runs over to hug him, and it's like, you know he's dead. You saw Leslie eating his arm, and then Mark's like, don't touch him. He's a zombie. Don't touch him. So she gives him a hug and pulls him close. And then Michael, as he's hugging his mom, the awkward scene because Michael's just staring at her boob, and Evelyn's just like, yes, just like your baby, Michael. And then Michael goes in for the boob and bites the boob, and Evelyn's holding her boob and like, oh no, my boob, my perfect boob. And then we see more ghouls coming in that door as well, and then once they get down to the bottom part, the ghouls are pushing that barricade away, and then Janet and Mark are like, yeah, pretty sure we're screwed here. And the whole time Janet's just freaking out, being like, Mark, please help me. Please don't let me die. I don't want to die. And then we see a couple ghouls grab Mark and literally take him over to the saw that's inside this workshop. And they're like, oh, okay, we're just going to turn on the saw and chop you up into pieces. Then we're seeing the various ghoul versions of, the husband. And then James shows up as well. We have, little Michael feeding on his mom's boob still a little bit. And they turn on the saw and literally start pushing Mark's face towards the saw. We don't actually see the saw cutting into Mark at all, but we also see Janet just sitting on the ground as a bunch of ghoul fists are coming all over her face, like trying to grab at her. And then the movie just stops on us still, and then we have the tagline at the end of the movie: the earth shall tremble, graves shall open, they shall come among the living as messengers of death, and there shall be the nights of terror, prophecy of the black spider. And the movie ends. The outro credits start playing, the Italian horror music starts to play. I really enjoy the horror movie music from this time period. I think it's really good, and I thought nonetheless it was a fun movie. I know I was making fun of it the whole time watching it, and there's some weird scenes. Definitely a very weird connection between Evelyn and her son Michael. I'm not going to touch on that one too much, don't want to do it, but yeah, I thought it was a fun movie. The concept of the ghouls is kind of neat. They're just silly full face masks. There's nothing really to them that much in that aspect, but some of them look kind of goofy and kind of silly, and I enjoy it. I enjoy this kind of style movie. And on the Rotten scale, for me, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I would recommend watching it at least once. I'm not sure. Italian horror is definitely something different than the modern day horror at that point in time. Definitely well worth watching though. I'm a big zombie fan, so definitely enjoyed it. And if you are a zombie fan, you should at least watch it once. And Halloween's coming up, in a couple months, so maybe make a whole month of zombie movies. I should do that. That would be fun. But we'll see. Well, we're at that part in time with the podcast where we gotta pick what we're gonna watch next week. So for episode 201, we're gonna watch a movie from 1974. Apparently, you can find it for free on Plex, but you can also find a good quality copy on YouTube as well. We're gonna watch a sci-fi horror movie. It's an hour and 14 minutes. It's from 1974. It's called Killdozer. If you know me personally, you know I love like Maximum Overdrive, Christine, Car, The Wraith. I love these movies where the car goes out and kills people. I know The Wraith is a little bit different because Charlie Sheen's controlling it, but nonetheless, it's revenge car movies and these killer vehicles and whatnot. I think it's a fun movie. I watched it a couple times. I'm definitely looking forward to doing this one for the podcast, and yeah, hopefully you guys will check it out. It's a fun one, so I'm looking forward to doing this one a lot. So as always, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band Blood Opera. All their links are down below, but you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, you can find them on SoundCloud, and the main thing though is Spotify. You can also find them on YouTube, but go check them out on Spotify. They got a new album out as well, so go follow them, subscribe to them, whatever, buy some merch. They might have some of my artwork still as merch. I can't really remember. I know we did a VHS release year and a half ago now at this point in time. I think they might have some stickers, t-shirts and whatnot, so definitely go check that out. And as always, check out all my links down below as well. At Typhonsign, you can find me on any and all social medias. We're on Instagram, Facebook, we have the TikTok account, but yeah, that main thing that we're really pumping out content on is the YouTube channel, where we have the weekly gaming video dropping every single Wednesday. We have old episodes of the podcast going up as well. We have live streams, and we have various shorts and other content, community posts and whatnot. So definitely go check it out. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications if you do go to the YouTube channel. That way you get notified each and every single time I post a new video or when I go live. We're going to be doing some more live art streams because you guys have been enjoying them a lot. I've actually been getting like 100 to 200 concurrent
viewers on the art live streams, so I appreciate that a lot. I'm glad you guys like the art content. It means a lot. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.